So guys, welcome to SkillLink webinars. And today we are going to talk about cloud computing, which is one of the most uh, thrilling topic as of now going in the IT world. Okay, a lot of changes are happening and the complete IT scenario is getting changed with the cloud computing. So I hope you all might have heard about the cloud computing, and would like to start with the famous quote of Charles Darwin. If you might have remember in your school days, you might have heard about the survival theory, and this is what he says, that it is not the strongest of the species that is going to survive, but the one which is going to survive, which is responding to the changes. And this is very well applicable in the IT world as well. As you know that a lot of things are changing in the IT world, various scenarios are changing, and today technology which you are learning, okay, maybe down the lines after 6 months or an year, a new latest update on that technology is coming, or maybe the alternate technology is coming, and that is where the adaptability is going to make give you the most successful career throughout your journey. So with that, this is going to be our agenda, where we will be talking about the cloud computing, at least to understand what cloud computing is, why we need cloud computing, or why you should learn cloud computing. Okay, we are going to touch base on the cloud service model, which is going to be, say, infrastructure as a service, platform as a service, and software as a service. We are going to have a discussion on that. This is going to be the base of cloud computing. We are also going to talk about the deployment models of cloud, and we will be looking at who are the leaders in cloud computing. Okay, right now, what are the roles and responsibilities you can expect in cloud computing, or suppose if you want to move ahead in cloud computing, what kind of roles you can adopt, and what kind of opportunities are there in cloud computing on the job scenario. That is where we are going to talk about, and at the end we will take the questions and answer. What cloud computing is, I really don't have to take a deep dive there and explain it, because everybody is aware of that, what cloud computing is throughout your school days, right from your whenever you have entered to the school, okay, till now, wherever you are, you have seen lot of changes which are there, and I hope everybody is using email IDs at least from last 10 plus years now, minimum. Okay, so this email ID creation and using the email ID is nothing but this is the one of the smallest part of the cloud computing. So cloud computing is basically ways in which the solutioning your application, your enterprise applications, you are going to deliver. You are running your organization workload, your solutioning, right now, say we are well versed with Amazon web services, and your Amazon, from where you are going to e-commerce platform where you are going to do your shopping, or Flipkart. So at the back end, everything is basically going to be running on the cloud computing itself. So all your workload, whether you are accessing it remotely or you are physically accessing it in the data centers, this is all going to be the cloud computing scenario. Okay, now the main thing is cloud computing. If you see the recent COVID scenario, IT services are the one which are very much flexible, and they have adopted the changes of working from home. Only few say required people were there who are required in the organization to just maintain some or the other stuff. Otherwise, 90+% is all working from home. That means working remotely. That means you will be able to perform everything remotely as well. You don't have to be physically present in front of the server, and that is where the cloud computing name comes. Okay, that means you are basically going to see the stuff, but you will not be able to touch the stuff. Okay, the virtual machines or the your storage or anything you see is there, but you are not able to touch it. We can't touch the clouds, and that is where the name comes. Right now, why we need to learn cloud computing now, why we are talking so much about cloud computing now. Okay, if you see, In the picture, in 2009, a person is taking a photograph or say a recording, video recording or whatever it is in the big helicopter. After 10 years, scenario got changed. Both have lost their job because they both have become redundant. Okay. Now this is where the example fits in, that this is the time where you need to keep on your continuous learning, and apart from that you also need to upgrade your skills. Okay, so basically learning and upgrade is what everybody knows, but the most important is it should be continuous. There are changes coming on every day. If you see in the cloud computing scenarios, every day some or the other services are getting launched, and that is where you need to be on top of that and grasp it. Okay, and that is the reason why you need to learn the cloud computing. Because if you see the IT scenario, in the IT world, the major of the revenue is being invested on the servers, on the hardwares, on the solutioning. That is where most of the things have, most of your money has been invested. Okay, and now every company, whatever you think of, they are thinking about like how they can reduce the cost so that their revenues can be increased. That is where the business comes. Now cloud computing gives you many features which are totally uh, above your traditional way of performing your uh, data centers, managing your data centers. Now let's see those things one by one, like your on-demand service, scalability, elasticity, capital expenses, operational expenses, how it is going to save time whenever you are say planning for implementing a project. So let's take an example of that down the line. So on-demand self-service. Now, if I say anybody right now today, or your brother or sisters, whoever is like have started learning there's something in school or so, that go ahead and create the email ID. So you are not going to go to YouTube and learn a, how to create an email ID. Just go to gmail.com or whatever services you are aware of, open it. It is all self-explanatory there. Okay, you can go ahead and create the unique mail ID. It is going to check and show you there itself. Everything is documented there. So it is like self-learning, self-service is there. You don't have any dependency. For opening an email ID, you don't have to depend on anyone. Just go ahead and open an email ID and start using it. Whenever in organization, like suppose if I say talk about in an organization, consider the project where you need to implement installation of say our Flipkart website. Okay, a e-commerce website, anything you want to implement it, you need to have an hardware on which you will be running that. You are going to install some web services, you are going to modify it, and then you are going to do it. Now that provisioning of hardware earlier in old days takes around 1.5 months. The procurement of the hardware, they will be need an invoice for that, or uh, they need to procure the hardware. After that they need to perform all the setup, they need to add the storage, they need to put it in the data center, the networking and everything they need to prepare for it. And then once it is done, then they will be giving the access to you that okay, now you can go ahead and perform the stuff. Okay, so that means when we are implementing the project, we have a dependency on various other people. Okay, this has been reduced to a large extent in cloud computing because of the self-service. Most of the things Oracle, most of the things like they have changed it to change it as a service, and that is going to be available to us. We just need to select those service, add it to our project, and that's it. So it is on-demand self-service. Okay, now consider a scenario where during the Diwali time or during the festival time, now Christmas is going to be there, the sales of an e-commerce site will be too much. Okay, a lot of people, and because of the COVID also now people are scared of going out. They will be uh, they will be accessing the website. Now on the normal days, you have a website which has got hit of 5,000 users. For that, you are well prepared. You have got at the back end all the resources, the servers and everything. What will happen during the festival time? That is going to get increased. In a day you might be hitting to 1 lakh users. For that purpose, you need to have the backend flexible enough to get stretched to accommodate that much load. Okay, now there are various kinds of various options are there in which you can increase the load. And now after say new year, my load is again going to get decrease because of non-festival time. Again, people will be working, they don't be doing shopping anymore after that on the regular basis. So your peak time is definitely going to will be there only for some period of time. For that period, your infrastructure, your requirement should be scaled up. And that is where the concept of elasticity comes. So elasticity is basically like a rubber band. When you are stretching it, it is getting stretched, and as soon as you release it, it is again coming back to the normal shape. Okay, so elasticity, like your servers, whenever the peak load is there, it should get scaled up to a desired extent. Okay, so that there should be no downtime of your website, that is going to be loss of revenue for you. That should get scaled up, and whenever the load gets down, it should automatically comes down. And that is the concept you can easily achieve in cloud computing. And this is one of the biggest factor where you are going to save lot of revenues. Okay, earlier if we compare it with the old days, you have to provision that much server and maintain it, and when the load is not that high, your those servers will be kept ideal. You can't do anything. That is, again, you have invested a lot of money on those hardware, but they are not in use for say around 320 days of time, because the peak time comes only 40 days in a year. So elasticity is basically stretching and again come back to the normal load or normal position when to run your website in the normal way. Another concept is scalability. So scalability and elasticity has a very thin line. Okay, elasticity get reduced again. Scalability is basically increasing your hardware capacity. Okay, so you need to say increase your hardware in case whenever your business is expanding or your people are increasing, when the load is high, it should be. So there are multiple ways in which you can deal with the scalability option as well. Either you can go with scale up or scale out. So you can see with the diagram, it is going to be very much clear what is a scale up. So scale up is like, today I am having a 4 GB RAM, a 4 GB, 4 core, 4 CPU server with a 16 GB RAM. Tomorrow, if load is increasing, I am enhancing the resource on the same server. Okay, so I am making it now say 16 cores, 16 CPUs and 256 GB RAM. And tomorrow, if it get increased again, I'm making it 32 CPUs and 512 CPU, 512 memory, GB memory. So that is what is known as the scale up, where the same server I am increasing the resource. There is a scale out option as well, in which I am adding a similar servers more. Okay, so today I am having say 4 cores and 16 CPU. Tomorrow, if load increases, I am adding 2 more servers of the same capacity. And that is how the scale out option comes. Okay, now I'm going to put it in the chat what option is better, or what kind of things are there in the scale up and the scale out option. So what one point very important in the scale up and scale out option. Okay, so what do you think in that? Just put it in the chat. We can just stay on this topic for 30 seconds next. So keep your answers in the chat box, where I can see and can we can have an interactive way of discussion. So scale out, if you see, my server might have a capacity of not going beyond 512 GB of memory. Okay, in that case, what I need to do is I need to add another server only, or maybe replace that server with a higher capacity model. Okay, in the scale out, I might have more servers, say 10 servers, and then tomorrow if my load is getting beyond that, I am going to add 4 more servers to that, and I can provision or say procure 4 more servers there. So that is where your things come into picture. Now scale up has got one drawback, that is basically a single point of failure, right? In case my big server itself has got some hardware issue or something, it has been not available in the network, my entire application is going to get down. But in scale out, I still have got a fault tolerance. Okay, if my 2 servers are out or not working, I still have a couple of more servers available to share the load. So that is the big difference there. Capital and the operational expenses. Now from the organization point of view, as discussed, if we go ahead and take the same example of implementing a e-commerce website, okay, and then we are say provisioning the servers, and then we are going ahead and deploying the applications and all. Now in that case, the capital expense is the one which I have to think before starting the project, and that requires a lot of heavy budgets. Okay, so I need to take all the approvals, need to have an investment, and further, lot of dependency is there, that whether my product is going to be successful or not, or whether I will be able to incur the capital cost which I have which I am adding it as an expenditure in my company budget. So there is a lot of dependencies on that, because at the beginning you need to invest a lot of money upfront. For the longer period of time, it is always better that you can have an investment, or maybe in house something is there, you can have those kind of stuff. Okay, that capital expense will be helpful there. But what if on the fly you have to do it, okay, or say whatever you are using, only you are going to pay for that. Suppose I'm using one server, okay, in the daytime, I don't have any operation or activities available in the night time, I can shut down the server and can keep it. So I'm not going to always running. It will be saving my bandwidth, it will be saving my power. Okay, but I really don't have to do it. But tomorrow if I want to say do the scalability or elasticity, something those features comes, then your capital expense is going to be very, very high. You need to plan for that. Even for 1 day or 2 days or 3 days, you need to have those kind of servers ready. So your cloud mostly deals with an operational expenses, not with the capital expenses. Okay, you don't have to plan heavy budget in upfront. Okay, you can provision it, you can use it. Tomorrow if you find that your project is not going to be successful, or there is some alternate way, or you are scrapping the project, you can scrap it. Your cost will be nothing there. Okay, whatever you are using it, only that you have paid it, and it is going to be way less than the capital upfront expenses. So that is where your capital expense and the operational expense comes. And as a cloud engineer, if suppose you are working as a cloud engineer, you need to optimize these costs. You need to work more on operational expenses, how you can reduce the cost for an organization, and that is where your skill set will be helpful. In business, always ups and downs are there. Always there will be peaks and bottoms will be there. That is where your business continuity concept comes, where you will be looking into the high availability concept. Okay, in case my one application is down, how I am going to make the service available. There is also an disaster recovery there, in case if suppose in south, okay, we know that recently there was a storm and everything was there. Now the data centers which are there in Chennai or in south of region, that might not be having a power or some sort of disruption might be there, but business cannot depend on those things. Okay, my business is global. I need to plan something that in case of such natural calamities, if it is there, my services should be available, or my business should be running without an interruption. And that is where, up from the south, in the north, I can have my DR side, disaster recovery side, where all my business is getting copied there, and all the transitions are copied there. So when primary is down, okay, in the south, my alternate site is going to be available for business. So that is going to be a give you the continuous business requirement. That is the solution for that. That is what the disaster recovery you need to plan. And the fault tolerance, which we have recently seen in case of scalability. So even if my some portion of application is not running, I have the fault tolerance that it should be able to give me the business continuity in even in case if some portion of my business is not applicable. So that is where we need to add the redundant resources to our application. We need to avoid the single point of failure in our design phase wherever possible. So these are like three important business pillars which you will be coming across if you are jumping into the cloud computing. In whichever area you are, cloud computing is definitely going to come into picture, where you will be looking into these kind of strategies. And definitely these kind of strategies on the planning, design, and everything, you require a complete understanding of the technology. Right. So now let's talk about the service model. Okay. We have got a service model available in cloud, which is basically of three types, or maybe, more types you are going to come across when you are going through the literature or documentation. But all those all those are around these three pillars itself, that is infrastructure as a service, platform as a service, and software as a service. And believe me, with all these three, somewhere you have already deal with it. Okay, now to understand this service model, okay, let's go ahead and make a pizza. Okay, so in our traditional way, how we can prepare the pizza. Okay, suppose like a classic example is this lockdown. You're not supposed to go out. You have got everything there. The first column, if you see, right from the topping till the eating or consuming of the pizza, you are doing everything it at home. That means in-house. Next is, now we have got more easy communication. Some things are open, restaurants are getting open. Okay, I'm taking this COVID scenario itself. That is the best example. Now what you can do is, in your shops, wherever your grocery shops are, you can bring few things on your own, like your oven, gas, or your soda which you needed with pizza, or and also you are going to have it at home. And few things you can make it ready made, you can take it. Okay, like I can have a sauce bottle, toppings there. I have got cheese ready made there, sauce and pizza dough, I all have got these things ready made. I just need to bring that, bake it, and that is what I'm going to outsource few things, or maybe bringing out something from out and then making it at home. That is take and bake. Another option is simply called Domino's or any other pizza delivery.